from Carrie Buys Houses, and today we are going to be talking about the top 5 mistakes to avoid making in real estate investing. Last week we talked about all the different phases when you buy, renovate, and sell your house. And the first phase is getting it under contract. So today we're going to be talking about in detail the top 5 mistakes to avoid in the contract phase. And I've brought my good friend and colleague on here today, Augie Byllott. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Carrie. Good to be here.
And we're going to be talking about the contract phase.
Mm-hmm.
So today, again, top 5 mistakes. Mistake number 1, don't waste time. What do we mean by that?
Well, don't wait when it comes to getting a contract signed, because you've only got one shot usually to get it signed, because we're in a competitive business, number 1. And number 2, people sometimes change their mind, they vacillate, they worry. And here's a situation that happened to me a few years ago. I was working with a partner, and he had met with a seller. He calls me up and says, the seller is ready to go. We're going to get this thing under contract, and the best of it is we're going to make a $30,000 profit after we've renovated and sold the property. Sounds great, doesn't it? Well, I said, when are you getting it signed? He said, I'm signing it with her tomorrow morning. I'm going to meet her at 10 o'clock. I said, why is that? He goes, well, she's going to be going to work at 5. I said, it's 3 o'clock now. Why don't you go get it signed before she goes to work? And that way it's done. No, I'll do it tomorrow morning. Long story short, she goes to work that night, tells her seatmate, next to her that, well, yeah, I'm going to sell my house to this investor. This is what I'm selling it for. He goes, well, I'll buy it for that. Oh, well, you're my friend. I don't know the investor. I'll sell it to you.
Mm-hmm.
$30,000. Gone.
So that was a $30,000 seminar, which we don't like to make
right.
if we can avoid making it.
Yeah, and I always remember the fact that, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance.
Yes.
Because that was a $30,000 lesson.
So that's a perfect example of don't waste time. Don't waste time getting it under contract,
Mm-hmm.
which leads us to mistake number 2, not being prepared. So let's talk about that.
Well, kind of in the same vein, you always want to be prepared. So do you have an investor kit with you every time you go out to look at properties? Every time you go out to meet with sellers? You should have a purchase and sale agreement. You should have an option agreement. You should have a lease agreement. Because these are the kinds, and even a deed. A friend of mine bought a house one time because he saw a U-Haul backing out of the driveway. The guy was going to abandon the house. He said, well, just sign over the deed to me and I'll see if I can make something happen. So, by having that presence of mind and being prepared, it's going to make a big difference, because you'll never stick yourself in this time-wasting situation. Oh, I got to go home and get a purchase and sale agreement, or I've got to go home and put one together.
Right.
Practice. Fill in the blanks.
Mm-hmm.
Get it signed. Once you're a more skilled or experienced investor, it's very easy to just take a yellow sheet of paper, put a date on it, put down, I'm the buyer, you're the seller, this is the property, this is what I'm going to pay you, this is the amount of earnest money I'll send to a title company,
Mm-hmm.
I have a 10-day inspection period, agreed to, buy, seller, buyer, you both sign it, you've created a contract. That's
Okay.
great.
But for the newbies.
But for a newbie, that's going to be a little bit over the top.
Right.
So carry the stuff that you need with you, keep it in your glove compartment, or keep it, in a bag or a box or whatever in the car, so it's always with you.
Right.
That way you'll be prepared when opportunity strikes.
You never know when a seller is going to be ready to sign. So
That's
be
it.
prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That leads us to step number 3, mistake to avoid is too much due diligence before getting it under contract and controlling the property. So let's talk about that.
Right. Well, that's a major newbie error.
Mm-hmm. It's the paralysis analysis.
Yes. That's perfect. Yeah. They get into all this analysis and they work out their spreadsheets and they go visit the property and they do everything they could possibly do to figure out everything that could ever be figured out about this property.
Right. They're wasting time.
Yeah, they are wasting time. Whereas, your purchase and sale agreement gives you 10 days, 14 days, whatever you negotiate to do due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't say we buy stuff blind,
Right.
but what we will do is we'll take a look. I think you do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You might take a look at
Zillow.
Zillow or Realtor.com,
Mm-hmm.
Trulia, those kind of sites, just to get a ballpark value. It doesn't
Right.
have to be right on.
Mm-hmm.
That's number 1. Then, number 2, you might want to check the property appraiser website
Mm-hmm.
to make sure you're meeting with the owners,
Right.
because you definitely want to meet with the title holders of the property, not somebody's cousin who has no authority to negotiate
Right.
or close
You find
a deal.
out later they have no to
Right.
say.
So that's a way to not waste time. But you can do all of that in 10 minutes.
Right.
Okay? And now go meet negotiate your deal, get the contract signed, and then that begins your due diligence period.
Right.
So do your due diligence at that point.
Right.
And do not, again, don't waste time with your due diligence.
Yeah.
Too many investors say, oh, I've got 45 days to close. I don't have to start until whenever I start.
Right.
Wrong, no, because if you've got a 10 or 14 day period, it may take you time to get a property inspector scheduled, especially if you use a good one. They're going to be busy. You're going to need maybe a pest control guy to come check it out. You might want to get some of your contractors in to do some estimating for you.
Right.
So you know that your repairs are good. You know, we had this kind of situation happen just recently, and we found out that a particular property that we couldn't tell when we looked at it and made our offer and had it accepted, that it needed to be completely rewired. That was an expense that was not budgeted. And we also found out that we had to replace a drain field.
Right. I remember that.
I know. And so we were there together talking to the septic guy, who was a good man. But we found that there were about $20,000 in buried expenses that we couldn't have determined before the fact anyway. So all the due diligence in the world would not have revealed that stuff beforehand.
Right.
So, as you know, we opted to withdraw the contract, and to me, that protected us significantly. A $20,000 surprise is not something that most deals can absorb.
So due diligence is really important, but do just some quick preliminary due diligence before you get it under contract. Go to Zillow, go to Realtor.com, go to the property appraiser's website, go in and just try to get a ballpark estimate on the repairs. Once you get it under contract, then I contact my realtor to get solid comps. I'm looking at those comps in detail. I might bring my contractor over to give me a detailed estimate, because if I have to go back and renegotiate, I'm going to do it in the due diligence period. I'm not going to waste time before I get that property under control.
Right. Invest your time in marketing, generating leads, talking to private lenders, and negotiating with sellers. You do those 4 things, you're going to have a successful business.
Right.
And you're going to learn a lot.
You will. So that brings us to mistake number 4, is having poor skills. And this one is very important. Let's talk about this one.
Yeah, this was a bane of my existence when I first started out, because my skills were so bad I was afraid to answer the phone.
I have a hard time picturing this. But...
Well, you know, that was a long time ago. But it's true. I mean, the phone would ring and I'd say, oh my God, that's another seller. I can't answer that. They're going to think I'm an idiot.
Right.
Until I realized that I was an idiot, because I was spending money on marketing and not answering the phone. And, you know, so what I had to do was develop my skills. And I had to establish skill development goals. And that's what I teach all of our students, whether they're our quick start or coaching clients. And the reason skill development is so important is it helps you develop mastery. And as you become a master, your confidence grows and grows, not your ego. But think about it. If you talk to a doctor and he's all nervous and jerky, and you talk to another doctor, both are talking about doing surgery on you, and one is really smooth and comfortable and confident, says, I've done this many times, I've helped a lot of patients. Well, that's what I do now. I help a lot of homeowners. I've done many, many deals, and as a result, people have been able to move on with their lives in a positive way. I've been able to help new families get into those homes after I've renovated them, or we've done different projects or rentals, and it just changes the whole dynamic. People want to work with people who are confident, people who are capable. And when you present yourself that way, it's easier to do business.
Right.
So poor skills can be a real killer.
Yeah, and people want to talk to people who can answer their questions, because in our real estate, we handle a lot of objections.
Sure.
They have concerns, they have questions, and you need to be able to answer them on the spot appropriately. And we get a lot of the same objections every time.
Exactly.
And in fact, we just closed on a subject to deal the other day, and she gave me every objection in the book that we've talked about and practiced handling. And right after everything was done, she said, wow, you do this a lot, don't you? Because I didn't hesitate. I gave her the answers that she was looking for, and she was confident to move forward with me, and she felt good about it. So handling objections is really important.
Right. Well, that's why you have the closing ratio you do. For the number of sellers that you talk to and the number of deals you close, it's way higher than the average, because you've taken the time.
Right, but it's taken
put
time.
in the energy and effort to develop your skills.
It's practice. You don't gain skills just by reading a book, and you've got to get out there and practice them. And that's why coaching and mentoring is just so important. You're always having to improve your skills. So.
Right, it's elevating your game.
Yeah. Okay, and that brings us to mistake number 5 to avoid, which is not listening to the seller. So let's talk about that.
Well, yeah, listening to a seller is really critical because many investors take the approach that, well, I'll just make an offer, I'll throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. Most of them don't stick. A lot of those walls, I guess, have Teflon on them these days. But, and here's a perfect example. A buddy of mine, investor in another state, was in a really competitive market, and this woman needed to sell her house, and she called 7 investors. Literally, when he got there were 3 guys in front of him, and by the time it was his turn, there were 3 more behind him. And so these guys all knew each other, and they were all looking around saying,
we're all going to give her the same offer.
Pretty much, because it was, a fixer-upper,
right?
And it wasn't a great neighborhood. So my friend gets in there. 3 guys have already come out, and he's thinking, I'm just going to go through the process, but let me see what her situation is. The woman agrees to sell him the house. And he used the Mayo formula.
Mayo is
which
maximum
is
allowable offer.
Or MACO, which is maximum allowable cash offer, because that's the offer we make when we're going to buy for cash. And so he gets the paperwork signed, he gets everything okayed.
Okay, so he was prepared,
yes,
didn't waste time.
He didn't waste time, he was
did
prepared.
some preliminary,
Little
quick
preliminary
due diligence.
Right.
Okay.
And he had good skills.
Right.
And part of those skills were his listening skills. So he listened. So he said, why did you choose me? Because I know my offer's got to be pretty close to what these other 3 guys offered. And she said to him, well, you're the only one that heard me. What do you mean? You said you would bring me $3,000 tomorrow. All 4 of you said you would give me $30,000 in 14 days or 30 days or whatever it was. And he said, well, why is that $3,000 so important? She goes, my son's in jail and I need to post bail for him. And $30,000 or even $100,000 in 30 days is meaningless to me. So by the simple act of listening to truly determine what her needs were, he was able to do the deal.
Right.
Now, at the same time, because he was prepared, he had a deed with him, and she deeded the property into a trust right then and there, and assigned him the beneficial interest contingent upon him bringing the rest of the money, or her refunding the $3,000. So he was able to protect himself because he had really good skills. But what closed the deal wasn't just his skills, it was his willingness to listen and understand what her problem really was.
And that's a great win-win story. He won because he got a $27,000 discount, basically. His buddies were offering $30,000.
Well, no, he didn't get a discount. He paid the rest of the money down the road.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Got it.
But what it did, it allowed him to buy the property at a great price and beat out his competition.
Right.
Because when he walked outside, he held up the contract. And the other guy said, oh...
Plus, he got a good ego trip
Oh,
out of it,
yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah. It's always great to beat out your competition, so especially when they're all guys you know.
Oh,
so.
look at man, ego.
Arr.
Well, that's great. That's a good story because listening to the seller is so important. And I can't tell you how many times we've gotten a contract when others didn't, and it wasn't because we were the highest offer. It was because the offer fit their needs, because we listened to their needs.
Yep, exactly right. And empathetic listening is one of the things that we focus on and teach.
Right.
I had another woman a long time ago that said, well, she was ready to sign the contract, and I had 2 other guys with me, 2 trainees, and she said another investor offered more money. Really? When did that happen? This afternoon. I said, well, we've done the analysis, we've gone through everything with you, and if they're going to give you, and I know there's no more profit in this deal, so if they will pay you more money, I want you to give it to them. I mean, I want you to do business with them. Get them on the phone right now, because so many of these people will tell you all sorts of things but never put it in writing.
Right.
Tell them come over while I'm here, because I want to review the paperwork with you at no charge to make sure you're getting exactly what was promised, because I don't want you to be taken advantage of. She thought about it for all of about 2.5 to 3 minutes while these 2 guys was freaking out, going, oh my God, you idiot.
You're going to lose the deal.
You're going to lose the deal. And finally she said, I'd rather do business with you.
Right.
Now, was that, a ploy to try to get more money out of us, or did she really have an offer? I'll never know. But I was demonstrating that I was serious. I wanted her to get the best deal. And if mine wasn't, I would help her to get a better deal.
Right, you were listening to her needs.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And when she sensed that, she was happy to work with us. So
Awesome. Well, that will be it for today. So these are the top 5 mistakes to make when you're in the contract phase. So if you watched last week's video, we went through all of the phases to buying, renovating, and selling a house.
Well, these are the ones you want to avoid.
Sorry, avoid, not make. I've made them. You want to avoid them.
I've been guilty too.
So contract phase is first, which we covered today. Tomorrow, next week will be closing when you buy.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll be renovating. Then it'll be finding the buyer, and then closing when you sell. So I'd love to have you back on. If we
Great.
can have you back
Love
on. Next week we'll be talking about closing when you buy the property. Top 5 mistakes to avoid making. That's it for today, guys. Please check us out at Carrie Buys Houses. All this information will be up on my blog at Carrie's Corner. And where can they find you, Augie?
You can find me at creatingwealthusa.com and visit us over there and sign up for my newsletter. It's called the Intellectual Capital Report. It's a great resource. It'll help you think about creative investing and lots of good information out there.
Okay, and
Thanks,
of course,
Harry.
if you or anyone you knew is interested in selling a property, please contact me at Carrie Buys Houses. So I think that's it. I think we covered a lot today.
Yes, we did.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good day.